He's incredible.
Are you ready?
We do it?
Get on your feet.
Let's get some music cranked.
Let's go.
Let's do this, and let's bring the house down, you guys. I want to hear it. Mr. Jeff Mack.
Got another 45 minutes left in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you do this?
Yes.
Has it been good so far?
Yes.
Was it worth the price of admission?
Yes.
Since it was free, I hope so. Okay. But no, there's in the back we're getting ready, just talking with guys. It's funny because I know some of you are here and you've had a shift. You said all of a sudden, man, I see it differently, or I feel different, or I didn't realize that, or this, and we're in the back there, and we're saying the same thing, right? And so if you think, well, these guys that have been here for 10, 20, 30 years, they know it all, and they're just snoozing through something like this. No, we're paying attention, and we're picking up things. As I sat over here watching the presentations earlier, there's stuff I gleaned, and I've been doing this for over 33 years. All right, and so this is not a job. This is not something that you just conquer in a moment or in a handful of years or really even a lifetime. We're always in process. We're in growth, right? And this process I'm talking about is life. Because what I found with the business, there's no difference between what we do here and what we do away from here. It's not a job, it's a way of life. And when you internalize that and you realize that, there's no off switch, And for some of you that have just worked jobs or whatever, you got to understand when you internalize this, at first maybe it's a cerebral exercise. You're looking at it, you're trying to analyze this or that, but once it travels from your head to your heart, there's a shift. And once you start talking to people, not in a cerebral way, but in a spiritual way, truth resonates, okay? Because the Spirit attends it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so what you'll notice is a lot of leaders that have been around a while have mastered that because that's what resonates with them. And it changes things, all right? And so as I go through this, think about that, because I've got some ground to cover here. I kind of have to tie a bow around this thing to kind of, maybe leave you with some emotional understanding of the business, but then translate that into something else so you can take action. And what I'm noticing here with the slides, did we unblock those ones, Patrick? Did we unblock those slides? Because Champion Moments came up first. Hang on one sec. And any way to unwind that? What's that? Okay. Okay, they're fixing it now. So I'm going to stall. All right. Translators. We want to thank the translators. Just as we're waiting for that to kind of correct itself. Some of you that are new to this, what it takes to pull this off, I mean, for years and years, myself and Nathan Ricks were really kind of the bottom line guys for these kinds of things. And now there's kind of a committee and guys that have stepped up. I was over there talking to Gary, and as we do this, think about this for a minute. There's people that donate their time to pull this thing off. You don't pay them, okay? They've got a group just like you. They're building their group. That's how they get paid, right? But they're doing a lot of extra work to pull stuff like this off. And it's a conglomeration of leaders that are cross-lined to each other, right? And they come and they work together because they know that if they come together, all ships rise, including their own teams. And the beauty of that is profound, because as I sit there and I watch and I see like that leadership panel that was up here, the wisdom on that panel, and every one of those guys are on fire, would you agree?
Yep.
They're all making a contribution free of charge, okay, and selflessly, because they know as they give, they get. Okay, and so as I watch all this stuff and I see the tremendous amount of work and the planning and all this, you have no idea what it takes to put together something like this and make it an event like it is. And we're broadcasting this thing all around the world on top of it. All right, so this is a huge situation. And so with that being the case, let's give everyone a hand that's sacrificed so much to put this on. Okay? And let's just kind of move forward. You guys just let me know once those slides are ready to roll, but I'm going to kind of talk about some concepts as we move forward. You know, part of this whole event, and the reason we do it close to here, and those of you that have been around us for a while understand that with Team Elite University, which really this is what this is, it's just a little more of a trumped up version. You know, Success Summit, trust me, if you think you're attending this and you don't have to come to Success Summit, you're wrong. Success Summit will blow you away. It's a major production. Major. I mean, I sit there, I remember when Nathan was still here a few years ago, we're sitting there and we're watching the production going on with all the entertainment. The entertainment, by the way, is all distributor based, right? And I looked at Nathan and I said, we are a freaking production company. And we just started laughing because it was so good, you know, and so that'll blow you away. But we do it here in the shadows of the company because it's an experience. You come here and you come to understand that this is about belief. This is the gift that you've been given. And if all your upline ever did was open the door for you, then that's enough. Okay, because it's truly a gift. And really, here's what's happening. We're going to 10 billion. Yeah, we're currently around 2.5 billion, but we're going to 10 billion. It's going to happen in the blink of an eye. And I've watched this company start from about 40 million in sales when I first started with it, as it went to 500 million in 24 months, and then on to $1 billion, then on to 2.5 billion. When it goes to 10 billion, I'm here to tell you, the people sitting in this audience that paid the price and go out and build an army are going to change their lives forever. How do I know that? Because I've seen what's happened in the past. And as you extrapolate into the future with the kind of volume I'm talking about, it will change lives. Is it going to take work? Absolutely. It's going to take a sacrifice. But I want you to understand the question that you need to ask yourself is, are you willing to make the sacrifice? Because is your life better with new skin or without it? Well, I'm here to tell you, irregardless of what the answer is, your life will never be the same. Because if you don't do this at the level that you aspire to, you're going to have to look back and say one day, why didn't I do that? Because new skin will go on to do what it needs to do. I call it the new skin ghost. I've seen some people that I talked to when I first started the business that didn't do it. And to this day, they have difficulty looking me in the eye. You know why? Because it did what I said it would did, and their view of their life or whatever at that point wasn't strong enough to come and do what they needed to do here. And so they're still just treading water. Okay, and so it's occurring right now. Okay? To me, I already see it clearly. Hopefully I can give you that vision here today. So make a decision. The decision is an unconditional decision. Okay, in other words, it isn't based off of what ifs. You are going to do this until you do what you came here to do. Period. I don't care what obstacles in your way. I don't care what trouble happens for you. I don't care. Because if this is important enough to you, you are willing to walk through whatever obstacle is there because it'll just make you stronger and become more of what you should become. Does that make sense? Yes. You've heard it say from stage, life is happening for us, not to us. It is. When you shift that mindset and realize all things are for thy good. Okay, the Lord has told us that. All things are for thy good. Okay, he means that, but you have to twist it and understand that it is that. All right? And then it empowers you instead of disempowers you. So you establish a why. And I know some of you have been through this process. Some of you haven't. And sometimes people say, Jeff, what should my why be? And I can't tell you what your why should be. But I can tell you this. There's a few questions you can ask to determine what it should be. And those questions would be, number one, what do I love? And what am I willing to die for? And when you answer those two questions, I have a suggestion. Make those your why. Because if you make those your why, you won't quit. Nothing will shake you off your horse. You will persevere. Okay? Because it's that important. I tell people flat out, your life is at stake here. Because it is. A lot of people don't realize, they think this, oh, if this doesn't happen, I'll just do something else. Really? You will never see an opportunity like this again. It's taken years to get to this point, and here we sit. So make goals, okay? And these goals have to be lofty ones. And I'm not going to get in really to dollar figures and stuff like that, because I have to be careful what I say, especially with the broadcast. But I will say this, whatever your goals are, make them lofty, set them high. Okay, go outside the box. That's what I did when I started this. I set huge goals. Not that I had that kind of success in my life, because I hadn't, but I could see people that had gone before me that had. And I realized, you know what? I have got to be motivated to do this. So I set those goals, okay? And it empowered me because I knew that I had to stretch to get to them. And along the way, think about things like, what kind of things do I want to do with my life? What do I want out of life? What kind of person do I want to become? What do I want to be? All right, because I've heard people say along the way, you know what, Jeff? Money is bad. Money is bad because it makes people bad. Money ruins people. Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
Not true. Money is a magnifier. That's it. It's a magnifier. Okay? Case in point. Who here knows some jerks in their life? You know some jerks? Okay? Think about the jerk for a minute. How many of you know any rich jerks? I do.
Yeah.
Guess what? They were jerks when they were poor too. You know what? You just notice them more now because they can. So it magnifies and makes you more of what you are at your core. And so address the core, because we all have chinks in the armor. All right? And so sure up that core, because as success happens, you will magnify who you are. All right? The good news is, in the process of getting there with this business, you have to go through personal growth. In other words, you can't just stay in the same place you are and have that success occur. And I've had people say to me, Jeff, you've done pretty well with the business. When am I going to start having success? When am I going to start making money? And my answer is really simple. Okay? The money will find you when you're the type of person that's worthy of the money you seek.
Yeah.
Okay? It will find you. It will hunt you down. Okay? It will hunt you down because you are a magnet for it. But if that all you is, if you just bypass the personal thing and you don't do that and you just seek the money, you'll never find it. Okay? Or if you do, it'll go right through your hands. And I've said this before, many of you heard me say this. You could strip all of the wealth from all the blue diamonds and team elites in this company. Strip it from tomorrow. And in 5 years, they'd have it all back. You know why? The asset isn't in the bank. It's here.
Yes.
It's here.
Yes.
And when you know that the personal power you possess is the asset, your whole world changes. It's not about material things. It's about the things of the heart. Okay? And it's true. It's true. You know, to win a battle, all you need is motivation, but to win the war, you have to have heart. Okay? Think about that for a minute. You know, this is actually a true story. If you see those pictures right there, a few years ago, I found a box at our house and opened it up, and this was written on fax paper of all things. Some of you guys are so young, you didn't even know what a fax was, right? But this paper, it's turned brown because it's fax paper. It's old. And I remember one time, just before starting New Skin, I sat down and I wrote down what I wanted my life to be. Really, just me. Okay, wrote down where I wanted to be at certain ages, you know, not just monetarily, but what kind of person I wanted to be, what my family would be like, where I would live, you know, those kinds of things in detail, what I would be like when I'm older, what kind of example I would be when I'm an older guy, and those kinds of things to a T. And I used to read it a lot, and then I stuck it away. New Skin came around that time, and I moved forward. I opened that box and I read this thing. This is no lie. Virtually every single thing I had written down, other than some some surprises and some negative things that occurred came to pass, including the home I've raised my family in, right down to the explanation. I mean, and in the vision, that I had, I wrote that down. The home had a horse deal, horse property, all this. I don't even really like horses. I don't even ride them, but it was in the vision, right? And that's the property that I raised my family with. Arena lights, the whole deal. I mean, if you're a horse person, you want this property. I just had it because it was in the vision, all right? My point is, write it down. Commit it to the subconscious, because the subconscious never sleeps. In fact, the subconscious doesn't even really know that you've programmed it. And it just churns and keeps moving you towards your goal, and it pulls you out of bed in the morning. You don't have to wake up to an alarm. You're not sleeping till noon. Your eyes are popping open at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning because your vision draws you out of bed. There's a difference. I don't even know what an alarm clock is, Never use one. Action. You've got to take aggressive action, full throttle action. Okay? And, coming into the business, I had great mentors with Craig Tillotson and Clara McDermott. And they said, you got one gear, Jeff, and it's full throttle. Part-time or full. And the first month of the business, with Craig's help, I sponsored 18 people. Out of those 18, 6 filed LOIs. Focused on the 6. The other 12 are still meandering around trying to figure out the business. I focused on the 6, and we drove lines through those 6 as we did a lot of in-homes and calls and you name it. Sponsored 5 more the next month, 5 more the next month, 5 more the next month. The first 18 months in the business, I sponsored at least 5 people a month personally. And I've sponsored more in the first 18 months in the business than I've sponsored in the subsequent 32 years in the business. Think about that for a minute. I sponsored more people in the first 18 months personally than I have in the next 32 years. So what does that tell you? You've got to strike while the iron is hot and set a blistering pace for your team, because they will watch what you do and not what you say. And for 2 years, that's all I did was focus. I came up for air, and I realized, you know what? This is crazy. I've got people in this business way better than me. And I didn't focus on the numbers. As Craig says, don't worry about it. People look at it and say, I need this much volume to get my LOI. I need this much volume to maintain my volume. I need this much to become a Blue Diamond or Team Elite. I didn't even worry about that. He just said, do the activity over and over and over again at such a pace that people will follow you. And that's what we did, over and over again. And as I came up for air, I looked around, and here's these great people that were motivated by action. That's what you do. You want so much activity, you can't even manage it. People think, I just want to manage my team. Somewhere around Lapis, Ruby, they find themselves just chatting with their team and doing the business. Really, they're just wasting time, because if you're not helping people get people in the business or helping them move product, you're not doing the business. That's it. That's all we do, is we get people in the business or we get people using the product, or both. That's it. That's the definition of our activity. And you do it over and over and over again. And the volume just comes. Does that make sense? Yeah. Focus on the task and the volume follows. If you focus on the volume, you're going to find yourself just looking and saying, gosh, we got to top that volume off. Got to top that volume off. Because you haven't done the activity. You've played the numbers. I'm here to tell you that the compensation plan is an inanimate object. It doesn't care about anything. It's a computation, and it's just going to do what it does. So do more than what it requires. Do more than what it requires. You hear Craig Bryce and I talk a lot about world leader now. You know what a world leader mentality is? It far surpasses the team elite. World leaders do more. They do more. Okay? And if you do more, your team will do more. All right? So that's what we do. Control your posture. We don't have time for negative people, Control your posture. You just don't have it. I mean, Liz and I, and as I'm just thinking of this, my wife Liz, you right over here? I can't see well. But there's Liz. Why don't you guys stand? Liz, my son Jeff, and his wife Kylie, stand up. Over here in the corner. Okay. These guys are awesome. But Liz's family, she's got 10 kids in that family, 10 brothers and sisters. And when we first got married, we'd each been married once before to other people. We had to practice on someone first, okay? And then we found each other. But because she'd been married before, they didn't know much about me. right around that time, we started the business. And so I'm dialed in, man. I mean, I'm ready. It's like, you know what? This last 9, 10 years of my life and my marriage was so trying. This is my time. I'm going to make this work no matter what. And I wrote these goals down, and I had them on the fridge. And I had these goals, blue diamond, and I put the dollar figure and the whole deal, right? On the fridge. And her family, her brothers and sisters come over to our house. They walk through and they see on the fridge this stuff, right? And I could see them look, and they'd kind of look away. I found out later they were laughing behind my back. It's like, who did Liz drag home now? This guy thinks he's going to make all this money. He thinks he's going to be a blue diamond. What is a blue diamond anyway? Are you kidding me? She's found some nut job, right? Come to find out they're laughing behind my back, but guess what? Nobody laughs anymore, okay? And now, the reason I say that to you is because the people that will steal your dreams, the worst, are the ones closest to you because they love you so much. They love you so much. They want to protect you, right? Look, if you see the vision and they don't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. If you see it, it exists. And so burn it into your brain. Put your blinders on and move forward, and don't let the negative creep in, because it's going to creep in. It's a negative world. If you spend your time watching the news cycles 24/7, man, you will hardly be able to go out the door. All right? Because they'll scare you to death. We're all going to drop dead, right? All this. Really? Well, if you believe that, your life has already ended. Okay? And so it's time to wake up and realize it's time to live. No matter what, it's time to live. Because there's always going to be opposition. Yep. Fabricated or real. Yep. Okay? And if it's fabricated or real, it's whatever you believe is true. All right? Me, I'm going to live. I don't care about the factors or fear or whatever. I'm going to live. Okay? Because when it comes time for me to leave, I'll know that I opened the throttle. You should do the same. Embrace challenge. Expect it. All right? There's no time for management. Guys, like I said, don't worry about the numbers. Just open the throttle. Just go to work. Okay? And elevate. And again, it's not like hitting a benchmark. Here's the mistake people make. They think when I get to Blue Diamond or Team Elite, I've achieved something. Now, I don't want to demean that for you guys, because some of you have been recognized at those pin levels last night. But let me deal with you straight. You've achieved nothing. You've achieved nothing. Because that is not a destination. Do you understand? Blue Diamond or Team Elite is not a destination. If you think it is, trust me, in another year or two, your pin level will drop. Because you think you've arrived at the promised land. It's a lifelong endeavor of growth. All right? And when you get that, you keep moving forward, because it's more about what you become. It's not what they pin on your chest. Right? And when you understand that, you won't stop. See, people say to us sometimes, why are you guys still doing this? As if, oh, they've been successful. So, like, I'm supposed to be laying on some beach. I've been to the beach. Yes. 20 minutes, I'm good. All right? 20 minutes, I'm thinking, okay, what's the draw here, really? Got it, 20 minutes, ocean, waves, sun, I'm burning right now, I'm good. Another year, we'll come back in a year, Liz, and visit the beach again. Right? See, it isn't what you think. Retirement, it's not for me. Yes. What's that about? You retire from stuff you hate.
Yes.
Okay? Right? This is a journey. And it's a journey towards perfection. If you can never get there, which you never will. All right? And you take as many people with you as you can, not by shouldering them on your shoulder, but leading by example. All right? And so, inoculate your people to the negative stuff that's out there. I tell them negative things will happen. Prepare yourself. Okay? So that they're ready for when it comes. Persevere through adversity. Okay? Dan McCormick, you all know Dan. You've listened to his training on Saturdays, and he talks a lot about Og Mandino, does he not?
Yes. Yes.
Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. So what that means is the challenge you've had in your life or the tough things that have been put upon you, just understand if you see it in the right light, you grow through it, become more of what you're supposed to become, the upside that you will experience will be equal to or greater than the downside that created the joy opportunity for you. But you've got to persevere. You've got to see it in the right light. That, when the Lord says, all things are for thy good, he didn't say, well, the things you want to cherry pick are for thy good, or the things that you think are okay are for thy good. He said all things. Okay? Death, pestilence, challenge, you name it.
Amen.
All excuses are created equal. They are. We determine that, right?
Yeah.
And so you look at that and you realize that growth can be painful. Well, if any of you spend any time in the gym, you know if you're going to build a strong body or bigger muscles, you're going to have to go through some pain to get there. Okay? You just are. You're going to have to lift and tear the muscle fiber, which is painful, for it to build upon that. The emotional thing is no different. The spiritual thing is no different. You have to flex that spiritual muscle to become a stronger spiritual being, of which we already are. We are a physical being second and a spiritual being first. We get caught up in the secular world believing that the physical outweighs the spiritual, and that's when you're in trouble, because I got news for you. There's things that will happen in your life that the secular world will never be able to answer for you. Because the important things that really matter come from the heart. They come from a spiritual connection that opens another vein of understanding. And the painful things that occur to strengthen you in that way are very powerful and probably more painful than any physical thing you'll go through. But understand it's all for your good. See, so the battle's here inside of your brain, inside of your heart. And that's the beauty of our business. We're in the self-development. We're in the people business. Have you heard that before?
Yep.
We develop people. Success, if there is any monetary success, it's just a side benefit. I'm here to tell you it's a symptom of what we already do. Let's shift gears here for a minute. Let's talk about why we're here, all right? Because the bottom line is it boils down to this. You want the freedom in your life to be whatever you want to be. Okay? Now, if I walk through here one-on-one, and I know a lot of you really well, but if we went through and talked and tell you, what do you want out of your life? Okay? What do you want? Doesn't matter what that answer is. You know what I already know? This vehicle gives you the capacity to have the freedom to be whatever it is you want. The question is, are you willing to sacrifice whatever's required of you to get there? Hey, and I got news for you. It may be right up at the time of your own funeral that you have to be willing to sacrifice, right? But that's the journey. There's no retirement. There's no kicking back. There's no checking out. This is life. And trust me, eyes are watching you. You think you're doing this business for yourself? I got news for you. You're the last person you're doing this for. There's people watching you. Young eyes are watching you. Be careful what you do and how you do it, right? I want to show you something here, and let's play this video. I don't know if I pressed the thing to do it, but I'm going to play a short video and we're going to talk about it. Can we back that slide out and run that video, please? Hopefully it works. How we doing, guys? It's not working? Okay. There you go. All things are for thy good. We're just going to ad lib here. Anyway, some of you have seen this video, but it's about my son Eric. Played baseball, okay? We're a baseball family. I played in college. My sons play, both of them unreal baseball players, including my son Jeff. But Eric, as you look at this, when people say to me, when you think of your children, what vision do you have? If I close my eyes, that's the picture right there. Okay? That's the picture right there. It's not showing up. No, gotta go back. Can we go back to the
Same eyes.
me and my boys? Right? Can you see that one? Okay. That's what I see. It doesn't matter how old they get. I look over there at Jeff. He's 23 years old now, but you know who I see? I see that little one there on my left. Okay? Always will. This was the best time of the day for me because every single night after their shower or their bath, I'd go in there, they'd sit in my lap, and I'd read them a story. And sometimes it was the same story from the same book every day. But it didn't matter because it wasn't about the book. It was about that. I can still smell their hair. Jungle shampoo. Okay. And so that's what I envisioned. That is the why. To spend time. And I knew if I sacrificed, I could be there for everything in their life. And you know, as they grow, there's Eric with his mother. You see Jeff over there. They're growing up to be good-looking boys and men. And Eric, though, problem with that one, geez, very possessive of his mom. And if you're out in public and there's another guy that looks at her, oh my gosh. I've been with him before. Some Liz walks by, some guy looks over, and he looks at me and says, "What are you going to do about that?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Happens all the time." I said, "You just have to chill out." He's like, "Jeez, you know, he could never figure that out. Why I didn't just go around slapping people around because I looked at my wife." It's going to happen, right? So Eric ends up turning the corner, and you know, the video I was going to show you, there's a time when he was in Little League, I was kind of helping coach this team because they asked me if I'd just kind of be an assistant, and Eric steps up after his team battles back. They've battled back, they come back several runs, the bases are loaded, they're down by a couple of runs, and he steps up to the plate, and he hits a triple off the wall. But right before he did that, he looked over, and he has this fearful look in his eyes, like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can do this. And I just remember saying to him, "Eric, you can do this. You can do this." And so he hits that triple, game-winning triple, walk-off triple, puts him in the championship game. He later pitches, they win 2-1 to win the league championship. But it was that moment I'll never forget. Okay? Because we connected. It was one of those spiritual things where it's like, "You got this. I know you've got this." And he nodded and he did it. Well, I wonder what would have happened if I wasn't there. What would have happened if I was caught up in the everyday life of living in my cubicle, just trying to go and chase my career, whatever it was? Because the truth is, any salary anyone would have given me would just be a ransom on my dream. Really. If I were to go get a job where they gave me a salary, it's just a ransom paid to me for my dream. To give up my dream for that. But I didn't do that. I didn't cave in. I realized if I can go handle that part of my life, get the money thing out of the way, then I can focus on the important things. And I think that day changed things because he built upon that. And this right here is a shot of him in high school. In his junior and senior year, he was one of the top 100 best baseball players in the United States at the high school level. Okay? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And, you know, we just came to see all kinds of things, and I don't know if this video is going to run either. Hopefully it does, but if not, I'll just explain it. But anyway, so we would see just mesmerizing things all the time when we would go to these games. And it would just be, you know, Eric, if we could have that slide pop up on the screen, guys. I don't know what's going on with our slideshow. There we go. We kind of took it for granted, you know, because he had arguably the best high school baseball career in the history of this state. And he went here to BYU, where I went to school, and he had the Rays and the Nationals in pursuit of him to play professional baseball. What would have happened if I wasn't there that day? Would he have still transformed into that? I don't know. This is my most proud moment of Eric. This is the state championship. When he was on the mound, get this, in 2 years, he did not lose a start. 2 years, if he was on the mound pitching, his team won. That meant when he was on the mound, they were the best team in the state, no matter who they played. But when he wasn't on the mound, they weren't, because they weren't as deep as some other teams. So they're in the state championship. They've ridden his arm into the state championship game. He can't even hardly lift it up. So they got him at first base. They have to pitch someone else. Going into the 5th inning, they're down 11-1. Okay, now if you know how baseball works, if there's a 10-run deficit after 5, they call the game with the mercy rule. And so they bring him in. And I remember thinking, what are they doing? He can't even lift his arm. And this is the picture the press took. They took this picture because there's Eric standing there. And I know what he's thinking at this moment. He's just kind of loosened up. He's thinking, it comes down to this? Everything I've done comes down to this. Everything in my life has come down to this moment. And I can't even lift my arm. And I'm supposed to stop the best hitting team in the state. These guys were murderers row, man. I mean, these guys were just tearing people up. In fact, some of the guys on that team are in the professional leagues today. Good team. Long story short, Eric stops the bleeding. They don't score, gets him through the inning, and the next inning he comes up with a guy on third and hits a shot to the warning track. The guy tags up. Now they have to go 7 innings. They end up losing 14-10 after being down 11-1. Now, they lost, but I'm still my proudest moment. You know why? Because it's not about the scoreboard. Life isn't about the scoreboard. Because if life's about the scoreboard, there's several of you right now in the room that are wondering what your life's going to be like. Because the scoreboard says it's not going to be good. It's not about the scoreboard. It's about this. It's about your heart. Because what I witnessed that day is the heart of one person can change the hearts of many. Okay? Now, they weren't good enough to beat that team. Okay? Unless he was full force on the mound. So the best team won. But afterwards, as the team's gathering together, the other team's celebrating, his team's together. And I remember they're around and the team's crying, you know, and they're hugging each other. And the principal, who's never played a sport in his life, walks up and he says to them, I'm ashamed of you guys. You're crying? Second place is really good in the state. And I remember thinking, this guy doesn't get it. And Eric looks up. I still remember this. Mr. Penrod, we're not crying because we lost. We're crying because we love each other. We don't know when we'll see each other again. Mr. Penrod could have crawled in a hole after that. That's leadership. Seven years ago, this March, will be the anniversary of my son Eric's death. He was killed in a car accident at Spanish Fork Canyon, across the center line while texting and hit a hauling semi head on. Now, trust me, I've given this speech around the world in multiple languages, and I can tell you, I know I'm talking to a crowd here who has suffered similar things. And invariably someone comes up to me afterwards, even if it's in translation from various countries, and we share stories and we kind of hug each other and sometimes we cry together. Because I want you to know you don't get over this. You know, oftentimes people, and they mean well, say, hey, you know what? You guys are going to have to get over this and move on. Let me give you a little coaching. Don't ever say that to anyone. If someone suffers loss, all you do is put your arm around and tell them you love them. And at a certain point, they will move forward, changed. They will move forward. With us, Eric's with us. Okay? I've got my family where they're right now, but Eric's here too. He's here too. You see, before Eric passed away, he used to come to all the team elite universities. He was a gold executive in the business. He used to sit right in the crowd right there. His favorite speaker is Shumi Rue. I know Shumi's somewhere in here because Shumi lights it on fire. Okay? Okay, and this is a verbatim quote. I'd get a text while Shumi's up speaking, and it would be from Eric, and he'd say, man, Shumi's awesome. She tears shit up. And I'm thinking, he's right. My point is, he said to me, he came after TU one day, and bear in mind, this is a kid he's got a future. He's got pro teams sniffing around him, the whole thing. He is a real deal. And he says, you know what, Dad? I'm going to go do the baseball thing. I'm going to go do that, okay? But when I'm done with that, I want to do what you do. And I'm thinking in my mind, why you want to do what I do? The best thing I can think of is for someone pay me to play baseball. That's my dream. And you want what I'm doing? And I said, why do you want to do that? And I've never forgotten this. And I repeat it always. He says, Dad, you give people hope. I want to give people hope, too.
Yes.
So, as I sat at the base of his casket, I had a communion, and I realized just because he's left in the flesh doesn't mean I don't fulfill the promise and the commitment we made to one another. We're going to keep going forward and building this, and we're going to do it together, and we are going to instill hope, and he's going to instill it with me. Okay, because it's that spiritual connection that people feel. See, it doesn't have to encompass the body. It's very real. It transcends the grave. Trust me, I know. I can look you in the eye and tell you, it transcends the grave. There is more to this world than what we are doing right now in this room. Okay? And so when you understand that, then you realize you're playing the long game. You're playing for the bigger picture, and the scoreboard does not matter. Because you're playing the long game, all things are for thy good, if you understand that. Right? And so I look at that, and these slides won't work, so I'm sorry. But if we can pull up that Invictus slide, guys, that would be great. Eric was a little bit crazy.
Here's to the crazy ones.
Oh, I guess it's going to work.
The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
If you're on my team and I work closely with you, know me, I'll call you from time to time, you are crazy. And I don't mean that in a derogatory manner, I mean that with the utmost respect. Because it's the right kind of crazy. And my son, he was crazy. Uncontrollable. My son Jeff's the same way, I'm the same way. Liz is probably the most controlled in the group, and she's kind of crazy too. But the point I'm trying to make, I'm noticing with Kylie as I get to know her even better, there's something crazy there too. And so this craziness that I talk about is just the fact that we realize our lives are on our own hands. We're going to chart our own course. We don't look for people for handouts. We're not looking for people to take care of us. We understand our job is to lead. Our job is to motivate. Our job is to lift. And if we don't do that, we've wasted our time on this planet. That's who we are. And that's who you are. Okay? Or you wouldn't be in this room. You're here because you're a rebel, whether you're outward or not. Because the system isn't giving you what you want out there. And I got news for you. The system's going to get worse and worse as time goes on. It already is. And you guys know that, okay? And so you look at that and you say, okay, what am I going to do? Well, this Invictus poem is a life changer. In fact, Nelson Mandela confessed while he was in prison, this changed his life. And I don't know if you've ever read it, but here's what it says. And the reason I have this is my son Eric had to memorize this by heart. And he had run ladders. I had him working with a mental coach who is a Marine, a military officer, getting the most out of Eric. And he would make Eric chant this as he ran ladders. And it goes like this. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Yes.
So as you dissect that, it's saying life is going to be hard and sometimes unbearable. But the difference is you're unconquerable. And when you come to understand that you're unconquerable, there is no obstacle in your way. It's just something to empower you more as you move through it. Do you understand? Yeah. It's about becoming unconquerable. And when you can do that, the world looks different. That's the warrior spirit I'm talking about right there. And again, Eric was probably the most photographed athlete in the state. I didn't take these pictures. These pictures were all taken by the press. Capturing a moment like that, a primal scream in the middle of slaughtering another team with the best pitching performance I've ever seen. Truly, the best pitching performance I've ever seen. In fact, people came up to me after that game and said, "Hey, is that your son?" I'm like, "Yeah." They said, "Oh my gosh, we have never witnessed anything like that." And they were right. I hadn't either. It starts with that spirit. And so when you look at this, okay, and as I close here, I don't tell you these things. I don't want you to go out of here and, someone reported to me that, hey, someone was just in pieces after your talk, Jeff. They're just shattered emotionally. I don't want you to be shattered. The reason I share this with you is to make you understand something very clearly. All excuses are created equal. The problems you think you have, trust me, I could parade any team lead up here and we could dissect their lives and you would be in tears to find out what they had to go through and what they had to power through and what they had to grow past and what is lying down the road still. See, the asset isn't in the bank, it's in here. And that's what happens here. And I want you to understand, there are things worse than death in this life. A lot of things worse than death. I know a lot of people walking around with their hearts still beating, but they're empty inside. They're already dead. Go back and forth to that job for 40 years, taking subsistence, looking to the government for a handout, just getting by, or having a successful career, but not having time for the most important things in your life. This is a moment of truth, guys. I want you to understand you can overcome anything in your life. I promise you, you can. It may change you, and you'll get stronger from it, and you'll move forward better for having had the challenge. If you understand the unconquerable nature of your soul. The Lord has told us time and time again, the problem is we don't listen. And so as the tests come, we try to look for someone to blame. There's no one to blame. There just is. Okay? So as we close here, and I'm the last speaker, right? So if you've got to go to and catch a flight, I appreciate that, but here's the deal. You can do this. When I say you can do this, I don't mean you can just hover at Lapis or Ruby. I'm telling you, you can climb to the top of this compensation plan and beyond, and you can lead a charge and build an army that will set the world on fire. You can change the whole paradigm for your life. But you're going to have to understand that you've got to get into an unconquerable nature where no matter what comes at you, you will supersede that. You will move through that. You will glean the benefit of it because it's there for our benefit. No matter what, it's there for our benefit. Okay? Some of the best people I know have endured the most trial. Some of the best. And you'd think that they had a cakewalk, like nothing ever happened. No. Tell you what, you're in the right place at the right time. You're going to see growth in this company we've never seen before. What we've gone through the last couple of years with the COVID thing, and let me take the politicization out of it and the fear out of it, because I know as I say that, people have been touched by it in a negative way. My own mother was hospitalized with it, I get it. People can get sick. It can be bad for some. But here's the bottom line. Take that out of it. For the first time in the history of your and my lifetime, the entire world has been hit with a gigantic pattern interrupt. And that pattern interrupt has shaken the whole world. If it's not financially, it's emotionally, it's spiritually. And they're all wondering, for the first time ever in the history of our lifetime, because the last time a pandemic occurred was over 100 years ago, for the first time ever, the whole world is uncertain what the future looks like. And you know what that does? It opens them up to opportunity to create certainty in their lives. And so if you've ever wondered in the right place at the right time, I want you to know, you will never see anything like this again. Because what's occurred in the last 2 years has set the stage as New Skin grew through it and is positioned for a gigantic growth cycle, and you're sitting at the right place at the right time, but gosh, you better be comfortable in your life and unconquerable at the same time. Because if you'll do that in this environment, you can change your life, but more importantly, you'll lead a charge that'll change others as well, and the world will change because of what you've done. I'm here to tell you, there's no better thing you can do. There's no better time to focus, but you got to do it now. Because the stage requires that you do it now. It's set for that whole thing. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes, yes.
Okay? I'm done. So let's go out and let's tear it up. Thank you.